Here I am, Leon C, aka Morpheus. You are listening to the Academy of Wildman. And in this, I'm going to bring a little clarity before I get to the message at hand. And I was going to make a single audio about it, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in this one in the beginning. Maybe I'll chop it up. Depending on what happens, it's a gambit. We'll see. All right. But I'm going to bring a little clarity about my stations. See, I'm receiving a little bitty, a few phone calls and a couple of emails and some text messages, and some people hit me up on YouTube about what direction do I want to go with this, meaning when it comes to relationships. On one hand, the question was given to me. I'm saying that marriages isn't a good idea to get into. It's not fortunate for men. And it is a harm for men. And in truth, I stand by that. Yes, absolutely, it is. Then on the other side, they asked me, well, I'm all about children. I love children's future. I want them to be successful. I want them to have a good family. All right. And so they're questioning, well, I don't, as Morpheus, if I don't want them to be in a marriage, then how are the men able to create a family for children? Children need mommy and daddy there. So what am I proposing? So they're rather confused. You got it? So I'll break down. On one hand, I'm saying, no, don't get married. But on the other hand, I'm saying, yes, we need families and we need to provide for our children. So here's the clarity about it. And I stated it, but I'm going to make it a little bit simple on this one. Okay. You don't need to get married to stay together. That's number one. Number one is think for yourself. And try not to mind the noise in the background. I'm kind of moving around in my studio a little bit because I had some work done earlier. I was trying to advance for you. And so there's a little bit of ruffling in the background, but I'm still able to sit here and pretty much speak to you in this classroom. However, the thing is, you got to think for yourself. Nobody's stopping you from having a child. If you want a child, have a child. No one is going to prevent you from being in a relationship that you're with, but religious bigots. Their extreme piety is based on control, and they don't know that it is. That's one thing for a person to know that they are struggling, they're going through things in their life, but it's something totally different when you meet individuals or people who pretty much don't know the condition that they're in. So a lot of religious people, and we're going to get to them in a moment, they really don't have in their mind specifically reality. And I know sometimes that gets me in trouble because what happens with the religious people, they end up questioning what I mean. And to them, they think it's grounds for debate because they truly believe that their mind is correct, that they are the ultimate way, that what they know is completely accurate. All right. So I can pretty much, through my academy, back up that what I'm saying is actually straightforward, simple, and logical. If you pay attention to what I'm saying about being in an indoctrination, you haven't been there, don't know much about what other people have taught you. And most of us have been raised up that way from someone else's idea of life. Most of these things have been programmed to us as children. Okay. But however, not going to get into this audio. Basically, the religious people, those with an indoctrinated mindset, they're told it's better to marry than to burn. That you have a traditional lifestyle based on your country or countries saying, well, we need to get married as a form of tradition. You got it? But the form of tradition doesn't pan out today, which we're talking about now. It doesn't pan out today because today is the 2020s. The value of marriage is still the same. You got me? Listen. The value of marriage is still the same. Marriage haven't changed. Men and women coming together haven't changed. It's the rules and regulations behind it. It's when the court system get their hand and their claws on you. It's when you divorce, when you feel the heavy burden of the marriage. It's when you are being pilfered for child support and alimony and other payments and accusations and assaults that have occurred within your relationship that you will begin to realize that it's just a scheme. It's a program to take money from you from simple people who should simply work it out for themselves. You got to be reminded sometimes that you are a grown adult. You have decided to get in contact or a relationship with beautiful Chelsea. Okay. So it has always been between you and Chelsea. All right. So she was a girl that you decided to maybe cold approach or meet her at a club or a party or maybe at a banquet or maybe a connection through a friend. Maybe her mother or father hooked you up. So it was a one-on-one conversation. It wasn't you and the government. It wasn't you and the court system. It wasn't you and God. If you want to look at it as you and God, you could say nature. It was you and God. It's form of nature. Boy meet girl. They're attracted to each other and something happens. Okay. So that basic interaction is the same as what I teach you before, as far as you getting in contact with God on your own and not having a middleman. So there was never a middleman. It was just you and Chelsea. No one else. Okay. But the ideal of your environment is to make money off of failure. That's who Agent Smith is. That's his entire program. Agent Smith's entire program depends on your failure. Are you understanding me? So therefore, as you are innocently born into humanity, innocently in a relationship with Chelsea, all right, other people around you have in mind to make profit off of you because they know that you're going to fail eventually. And oftentimes they will not give you the information as to what's going to happen when you get the, I don't call it legal. Okay. I call it legal pirating. I call it legal stealing. I call it legal deception. I'll call it legally, robbing you in your face. But when you allow paperwork to be between you and your relationships, when you allow the middleman to come in between you and Chelsea, that's when you give them your power. That's when you give them the authority to literally destroy you. All right. That's when you give them the power to bend you over the judge's bench. OK, and embarrass you in front of everybody in the courtroom and the society. Because you bare-assed yourself when you decide to say, I do, and pretty much give away your rights of being a civilian and handling your own home business as a grown man and woman. So therefore, they return the favor and bare-ass you in front of everybody else in the courtroom who's looking at you like the fool that you are. Yes, I said it. Got a problem with it? Suck it up. You did it. I didn't. You're the one with the ring on your finger. You decided to go along with the program, not me. So you have to deal with the consequences. Okay. So therefore, you would wonder, then what's the whole point about it? The whole point is money. The whole point is giving back to the community. The whole point is making you to be the next taxpayer in every failure that you create. So the idea is you don't need it. The idea is think for yourself. I had to bleep that out. The idea is be with Chelsea and be with Chelsea. Now, what they always say as well is, which is we're going to go to the next stage here. Okay. After you get with Chelsea, let's say you eliminate the middleman and you're just with them. Now you have two sectors that's coming at you. The church is talking about it's shacking up. You got the priest and the manager. That's funny. The minister, I guess you can call him manager. He's the manager of your soul, which is ridiculous. I guess you could say that. The pulpit pimp and priests and pastors and mosque leaders and the rest of them saying, no, 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 no. You can't do that. You should not do that. You should go with the program. So they beat you up. practically verbally, and they're talking crazy in your ear because they want you to be programmed. They want you to go along with the program. They want you to think that this is 1902. You got it? But it's not. This is 2020s. They want you to get in a position where there's consequences should you decide to get out of the marriage. I clearly understand. It's almost like in martial arts. Okay? In some of the martial arts that I got into, there was a waiver that we had to sign before going into a match if we did full on hand-to-hand combat and kicking and flipping and body slamming. They said, listen, once you get onto the mat, okay, all bets are off. Okay, the claim is you cannot sue us. All right, your attorneys and your lawyers are not allowed because you signed a waiver. The waiver means you are responsible for the consequences. If you get your ass beat, okay, it's done. You decided to test your skills, probably against the best or somebody greater or better than you. So they flip you over, you break your arm, you break your neck, or the ambulance have to come in here and pull you away on the stretcher. Okay, you signed up for it. Got it? So that's the consequences. And most times we're clearly understandable. I mean, we understand it. And most times it turned out quite well. As a matter of fact, surprisingly enough, during all the matches and accidental breakage, ankles, arms, sometimes legs, wrist, okay, knees. Now, there wasn't a lot of complaint because people knew what they was going to get into. But you would think that's the same as marriage. Okay. Well, the problem with marriage, it could be the same way where the courts or the marriage system will say, well, if you sign up for it, make sure that you know what you're doing. Otherwise, if it breaks, don't come crying when the court system crushes your hopes and dreams, little boy. Okay. But however, the problem is we're not prepared. And it's archaic and it's outdated and it's based on a 1902 type of idea via the instructions of marriage itself, because we don't abide by those values anymore. Not America. America don't comprehend what unity and right behavior is when it comes to boy and girl. Otherwise, there be no such thing as Morpheus, Red Pill, nor MGTOW. Okay? So therefore, what happens is marriage is destructive. It's dangerous, and even more dangerous for the ignorant. But yet you want a marriage, you want a relationship. You want to bond yourself to somebody. Okay. And of course, behind that, there are some penalties as well to say, well, if you get this girl pregnant and you're not married to her, then they're going to come at you even worse. Okay. Try to penalize you and try to take your rights away, or you don't have that much rights of the children. It's pretty much an unfair, unbalanced system. Okay. Because it's like, damn if you do, damn if you don't. You're going to abide by our system and we will slightly rob you of everything, or you don't abide by the system and we try to be more aggressive if you don't apply by the system. Okay. And taking away your rights and making you feel as if you didn't participate in building the baby's genetics. So if you move forward and you get rid of all that, the basics starts with the man and woman. It's when I teach. It's what I teach. Being the best self, being the best you. That involves your religion. That does involve what you believe in. That it does. It involves practically everything. And not just your finances, everything pretty much. If you take your time and think about the root of the issues of the world, most everything is based on what you believe in. My task is to get belief out of your mind, out of your vocabulary, and add in there, I know. When you start living a I know life, now, listen, now you on a corrective path. Now you are good. Now life will start opening up to you. You got that? Now you are prepared. Now you know the consequences, just like the martial arts challenge, the tournament. You will say, well, I didn't know that I could not complain about being body slammed. You can say, yeah, I knew it was going to happen, Bygones be got bygones. You shake your hands, you lose your trophy, go home the loser. Just try to practice, start all over again. Go back to the gym, practice and build up your defense, knowing how to parry or how to dodge, flip left or right. You got it? Men were men. And to be honest with you, and it's not a douse on women, but it's a fact. A lot of the components weren't a lot of women involved in it. There weren't a lot of female fighters. There were probably a couple, but they weren't too active because they realized just how dangerous it could be. Okay, and physically, capable men, especially when there's no rules to say, hey, whoever's on the mat first loses. Well, they know that they're going to go down first and probably the quickest. So a lot of men loved that. It was a sport, fun, great activity. But however, when you know how to avoid, you know what you get yourself into. A lot of people just don't do it, but yet we do need to create in the future. Children need their mom and their dad. Now, here's the thing. If you're going to find a companion or a mate for your life and you want to create a family, okay, it's between you and that individual. The fact is, just do it. That's my expression. I think Nike took that from me. I think they took it from me. Just do it. That's one of the, back when I started my gym and working out in martial arts and things like that, I heard something from Lou Ferrigno when I started pumping iron. And he said, he was in an interview, he was talking about how to deadlift. That was another one of my heroes, Lou Ferrigno. And the interviewer asked him, he said, how are you able to lift so much? How are you able to lift so much? And Lou Ferrigno said, I don't think about it. I put the bar down, I put weights on it, and I snatch it. I don't think about it. I just grab it with all my strength, with all anger. I just snatch this thing up and I dominate the bar. And how old was I during this time? I was like 14, 16 years old when I saw that interview. And that's when I was really getting into trying to get my body in shape. You can imagine what I probably look like now if I was 15, 16 doing this. You probably can imagine what type of shape I'm in now, because that's when you start that early and puberty's just hitting, then you can, with the martial arts and pumping iron, you feel, okay, I understand more. I see now. You should get a visual now. I'm not trying to boast myself. I'm just giving you little bitty ideas here that when I tell you the some stuff I talk about is true, because I've been there and I've done that. And I don't try to go deep in detail because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to be somebody like this macho man, right? So I try to be as modest as possible because I know that words is very effective and people can take it wrong. I don't want you to take me wrong. Okay. So I do my best to try to avoid that. But the truth is, when I was 15, 16 years old is when I really started everything. I did a lot of things without weights, without getting into the gym heavily when I was 8, 9 years old. Just running around the house, picking up wooden sticks, swinging them around, going in the backyard, kicking wood, flipping over, doing push-ups and things like that. So you can imagine what type of teenager I was in school. And you can probably see how when I told you the story about being alpha and being the tallest, being the biggest, being feared came into play, because it was something that I was just that way. I wanted to be the best. And it started that young. My ambition was important to me. And I didn't know why I was doing this. You get it? I did not know that I was just playing alpha. And I wanted to be number one. I can't help it. It's just in my blood. I can't take the second seat, and I want to win all the time, but be modest at the same time, you see, and sit back. And here's the key too. Sometimes you got to lose to win. There's been plenty of times where I sat myself down and said, shut the hell up. There's plenty of times where I sat down and I've received the second seat because I wanted to be modest and I wanted everybody to have a fair chance. And I learned a lot by doing so. Winning is not always winning. Sometimes you have to lose to win. So I found glory in losing and struggle and failing than just always being victorious. So that taught me to be modest. It taught me how to embrace the world for what it is and always be open-minded for something new to learn, which of course, you know how wisdom and knowledge start coming to me and getting my instincts together. And well, here you are. Here I am today. Morpheus. Okay. Morphed since childhood. And so get on to the matter is Lou Ferrigno said, just do it. Just grab it. Just grab this and clean it off my head. That's what I do in the interview. And when he said that, the only thing that came to my mind was the word he said, just do it. Just do it. Stop talking. Stop talking stupid. Just do it. Don't worry about how much it is. Just do it. Don't worry about it. Just do it. Just do it. So that has always been a motto of mine. And of course, Nike start putting that on their logos. You know, just do it. I'm like, oh God, how'd they get it? Where they come down? I don't know. I don't know how long Nike's been around. Maybe I haven't been paying attention to TV that long. But when they start saying it, I'm like, okay, somebody stole that from me. somebody took it. Okay. But that's fine. I can handle it. But anyway. So in your marriages, that's the key. You just do it. But we don't want to because we don't have the proper, what's that? Knowledge. We can't just do it. We'll do it. Of course, we'll do it in the bedroom. Sure. With donkey done. Of course. Easy. You know, of course we'll find somebody and, hey, let's do it. Yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about. What I mean is when you have your mind together and you know the consequences, you know that children are important. You're going to be with that person and you say, I'm going to be with you. What are you tripping on? Why are you worried about me needing to prove to you I care about you to just put a ring on your finger so we can be locked down in an impossible, unfair, unbalanced system that's going to benefit the woman and not the man. Okay. It's a sensitive situation exchange. So in the family dynamic, listen carefully. It don't matter whether you married or you're not married. We're still failing in relationships. Okay. We still have a struggle between man and woman. So it never mattered that you had a ring on your finger. Having a ring on your finger is symbolic. It's symbolic and it's today traditionally stupid because today that tradition don't line up to the way life is. Now, does that mean that we are against God? No, not at all. Does that mean that we are haters of God or the world? No. Does that mean that the generation today is a lot more evil than what it used to be? No. What that means is a lot of men have learned that they have been getting shafted and they have been getting the bad end of the stick. They have learned that the environment lied to them and that women overused the advantages of being able to divorce these guys and get all the cookies, the proceeds, and the accolades and gifts, leaving men hanging. See, once upon a time, you already know, we all know that there are some women who was at a disadvantage. There was some men who would promise forever and they'll mistreat the woman. They'll go out and find them a mistress somewhere or some dangling 3 or 4 while the woman is diligent. She's at home. She's making the beds. She's taking care of the kids and he dumps her off somewhere and neglects her and she needs financial support. They're not going to understand. I can understand where alimony may kick in there because you don't want to promise somebody to be with them forever. And they live their whole life supporting your life, helping your kids, making your bath water, going outside, cleaning that was during those times too. The outhouse, okay? Feeding the pigs, getting the logs from the corner of the house that you cut and throwing it in the fire to make sure that you have a hot tub of water when you get home. Those types of things. It's not like that anymore because today women have independence. Women aren't like that anymore. They can do whatever the hell they want to do. If they want to take care of the house, they can. If they don't want to, then they don't have to do it by their own free will and their choices. They can go out and find a job, get their own job, and they're pretty much doing the same thing that the man is doing. If he goes out there and work at a warehouse, she's working at a warehouse too. Whatever car he can buy, she can buy it too. If she wants to jump in politics, she can jump in politics if she wants to. Those doors are open to her. So now she have more of an advantage to provide and survive for herself. You got that? She can pay her own bills. She can feed herself if she want to and hold her own house. She may struggle. It may not be quite well. It may not be as sufficient as the man's, depending on the condition, but at least she can do that. She can go get her apartment. All right. So therefore, the gifts, the accolades, and the alimony, and every other programs that they have for women, which is in the numbers, massive numbers, is not balanced anymore. Now it's overdone. Now it's domination. Okay. Now it's a power struggle where it's so vast, it puts men in a disadvantaged situation. You got it? So instead of the divorce laws, instead of your court systems, instead of the balance of marriage catching up to the times and saying, well, this isn't 1902 anymore. This is the 2020. So we need to change this up according to today. They want to hold on to the leisures, the protocols, and the ideas of what it used to be in 1902. As if women are still at home taking care of our kids, or making our bath water, or cutting our grass. Or yeah, women can do that too. And there's a different way they can cut your grass as well. Okay, there you get my drift. So, and there's many things that women don't do anymore. So therefore, it becomes unbalanced and unfair for men. And I think the purpose behind that some of the systems knew it. And I'm not going to point my finger. We all know. Okay. The systems knew that it was unfair, but it was lucrative for the country or lucrative for the power dynamics that surround us. So therefore, they didn't change the system because they wanted to constantly use men as a backup plan to get money from men, to continue to disenfranchise men, to continue to kick them down and take them for all that he has and keep giving to women who can otherwise provide for themselves. So it's no longer the balance that you see in the back of the courtroom. This balance beam that represents justice is no longer that. That picture needs to be taken down and needs to be etched off the wall and put something up there as far as what do you call that? There's lots of things they can put up there besides the balance beam because it's no longer that. So therefore, men are wising up and they're not getting involved that way. They're not. But yet we still need to move America forward. We still need families. And as a matter of fact, we are collapsing because of that problem. America is collapsing and going downhill. That actually should remind you of the book that I've written for you, 2020, America Rise or Fall Hard. But I guess we won't fall hard instead. Okay. But it's collapsing because we are looking at it wrong because it's every man for themselves. What I mean by man, I'm saying womb man and man for themselves, not about children. It's not about the future. So therefore, you can still hold a family. You can still hold it down, as they like to say. If you want to, you can still have a family. If you want to, you can still be together because you want to be together for the future. If you want to, and repopulate the earth, not with dumb children, but with smart children, based on the mom and dad's ability to comprehend the environment. Okay. But the problem is we are not trying to do that because there's the distortion that's there. That means we don't trust each other anymore. So regardless of all of that, I still know, and I'm still preaching and teaching that children is number one, that we do need family. And essentially, it is critical that we do so with the right mindset. But while we're doing it, we need to know what we're getting ourselves into. But if you're going to latch on to somebody for the rest of your life or try to do that, if you're going to find a relationship and you think that it's worthy to invest in, then we have to make sure that we're doing it on a permanent basis for the sake of the children. in which, of course, we don't look at it like that. Because ultimately, that's what we need. Ultimately, that is what we need. So therefore, that's how you're still able to maintain. You can still bring in American families. You can still raise your children together. It's your children. It's nobody else. It don't belong to the court system. The child don't belong to the government. It don't belong to anybody else. The child belongs to you. And it's between you and Chelsea to raise this child. But because you and Chelsea don't get along, because you and Chelsea are fighting all the time, because you and Chelsea are fighting over power, okay, the child suffers. Marriage suffers. Unity suffers. We don't trust each other anymore, and the future suffers. The future will never be the same until you and Chelsea learn how to get along as individuals and begin thinking for yourself. You got it? So therefore, if you're able to do that, you don't have to overexpense your relationship. You don't have to get unnecessary third parties involved in a two-party household. You can deal with it because you are an adult. The problem is we are not adults. We are grown children. We are grown children with selfish mentality based on the music we listen to, based on the movies that we watch, the movements that we're dealing with of false liberation and equality and bogarting and stealing from the next person to give to this person. You know, that Robin Hood mentality, take from the rich, give to the poor type of thing. And everyone is worried about their life. They're worried about the sicknesses that are so-called spewing around the places on a constant basis, the constant attack of other countries coming in and trying to bring their interpretation of life, causing distortion. Let's not forget that there was plenty of, it wasn't long ago they were talking about, what do you call those illegal people here in America. It wasn't long ago that there were conversations of other things that were going on, like the financial infrastructures and the national debt, another type of systems that were going on as far as culturally, Black Lives Matter movement and so forth and so on, which is still going on, I suppose. During that time it was. I don't know if it's doing it right now, since you're getting this audio however late. And on that note, yes, just because you may be getting these audios late, that doesn't mean that I'm not making audios. I'm still on the other end of the phone, okay, accepting your Patreon. Okay, don't think because you get this, you get these audios like 2 months later, a year later, or 2 years later, okay, that I'm not still doing this. I'm still doing this. So I'm still expecting your reply. I'm still expecting for you to support our channel. All right. And I'm still accepting it. Okay. But still, we got to remember there's other movements going on and other distortions that was trying to cause a distraction within your country. But then when there's a major distraction that distorts pretty much everything, it is overly used and it is overly calculated to give you even more distraction, because the whole idea is to keep you off balance. The whole idea is so you do not pay attention to what's most important in this country. You got it? The whole idea is just like a wrestling match, a fighting match, is to make you delusional, where you lose your balance and you fall to the mat where you can lose. So the most important aspect or focus point that we need to be concerned about is the future of humanity, the future of family, the future of children, because these kids, they're 2 years old, 3 years old. They're going to be in the world that we are creating today. That's what's most important. So therefore, regardless of our differences, we still need to get together. We still need to bond ourselves as a human race, not as a black race, not as a white race, not as Mexicans, not as Latino, not as Asians and Africans, Indonesians and Indians. Okay, we need to come together as a human race and understand that the future is for everyone. The future is for everyone, and the future has to be done by us molding ourselves together. Listen, and the reality of it is, I know y'all don't want me to say this, but it's true. Okay, all lives matter. Because if you have one culture that is dominating over the other, you have imbalance. If you say all black lives matter and no white lives matter, then you created imbalance as well, because there's still beautiful, cute white babies running around in their diapers. Okay. And the reverse for every other culture. And in that is still man and woman needing to peer bond with each other and cooperate. So if we only concentrate on the minute, small avenues of what camaraderie and unity is about, we're still going to collapse and we're still going to destroy ourselves from the inside and out. Because the beginning of y'all's story in Christianity was based on Adam and Eve, for dummies that don't understand the beginning of the stories. Okay? So we know that yin and yang comes together to produce something, which makes the beginning, which is a child for the new future. And that means that's where it starts. We're so distracted, we can't comprehend that that is where it starts. And that's the bread of the countries. The bread of the country is what you are producing from your own loins and your genetics. And when you fail to do so properly, that's either going to be a tax write-off, it's going to be tax production, or it's going to be a hindrance on the environment, or all types of Agent Smiths and programs are going to come in and manipulate that child and transform that child to be the next slave, thanks to your participation. And that next slave has no color. That next slave isn't cultural. That next slave don't matter if they came from a different state or a different side of the world. When they fail, Agent Smith is going to come in and benefit from them. Do you get it? So therefore, regardless, we still need to learn how to get along with each other as a human race. So therefore, when you do so, do it without getting into a contract. Do it without getting people involved. Do it without getting yourself attached to the matrix, where the matrix 90% of the time isn't going to benefit you. It's not to support you, it's to destroy you. 90% of the time, it's preparing itself to wait for your failure, which is going to happen eventually, because the system is pretty much 90% against you, and there's 90% snares and traps. So you can fail, especially with the sexual liberation and women can do whatever they want to do, and the bait and switch, and nobody wants to keep their promises. Everybody is lying. So you and Chelsea's ability to last in a marriage it's just about slim to none. It is a very tyrannical, horrible situation to put yourself in. So it's already, being with her is already being in a frying pan as it is. It's already in a frying pan as it is, just being with her and having a child with the society wanting to wait for your failure. Okay? But when you tack on other unnecessary contracts in between, now you're asking for complete oblivion. You're asking for the depths of hell, ignorantly. And so in my teachings, I'm avoiding you from the depths of hell. But I know that we have to be together anyway. I know we have to deal with the frying pan, but it doesn't have to be crucial if you gain knowledge, if you know what you're getting yourself into and you are your best self. You and Chelsea know what you want and you are content with each other. Therefore, if you are content and you're your best self and you are wise with your religion, you are wise with what you believe in, the children are going to benefit. And our mission as a whole is complete. It will be complete. Now to get on to the religious part about this subject that we need to talk about. And if you misunderstand what I'm saying, you would think that I'm trying to motivate relationships. I'm trying to say, well, bring each other together. Well, as a red pill guy, I understand and overstand MGTOW. As a matter of fact, I've been that way by accident, not because I chose to, but because the way that the environment is and how the environment have panned itself out to be. Okay. The opportunities and chances of that being a success is very, very low. You see that? Pretty much all MGTOW understand that. Pretty much all men know their chances by now. They know that out of 100 women, there may only be 5 or 10 of them who may be compatible. There may be 10 of them who's compatible, and 5 of them may actually be the girls who can probably last in a long-term relationship, depending on where they are. So as those numbers increase, when you do percentages, it's very low. So you can say out of 1,000, there might be 100. And not even that much. I'm safe to say about at least 25. I'd say 25. I'm gonna stretch it like that and say 25, because not a lot of people have their mind straight today. So even if you think I'm promoting relationships, okay, and saying that that's going to be a solution for the future, it is a solution for the future, but the chances are slim because the collapse of our mentality here in America is on a downslope that's not stopping no time soon. Because whenever there's a conversation about us working out with each other as a team, there's always going to be there's always going to be a womanist. There's always going to be a hate group. There's always going to be another group of people who's going to fight against sensible logic that will promote children, that will help children. Marriages promote children, or it's supposed to be the way that it was in 1902. Relationships promote children coming together and creating a bright future. It doesn't do nothing but help children. It's only common sense, right? It sounds good, right? That child has mommy and daddy right there, 24 hours, 7 days a week. There's nothing more that I want as a teacher and your professor here than for a child to have mommy and daddy in their life. You got it? But we don't want to do that because we're living a very selfish lifestyle. Because what is happening is you have your opposite sex who wants to go out and leave the home. Nobody's at home now. Everybody's babysitting someone else's child. If you don't look at it like that, with grandmas and grandparents watching the kid, or a babysitter or a mentor or somebody like that, or even the school is watching the children. And so you could say it was a benefit when there was a stay-home demand. The stay-home demand was actually good, because in my preaching and teaching of family development, I've always often complained about the mom not being home. I've talked about that, and I raged on it several times in several audios. And it was almost like it was almost like an answer to my prayer when there was a stay-home demand. Even though they didn't make the money as they needed to, the family struggled. And I'm sure the moms and some of the dads didn't want to be at home, but I relished in it because it was for the children. I was glad. And actually, as a matter of fact, I was thinking it was going to be a change of pace, because now this child has mommy and daddy at home. All right. But of course, it was more dramatic than what we expected, because mommy and daddy really didn't want to be with mommy and daddy. They didn't want to be at home to see each other's face. They used work as an excuse. Okay. And so the arguments started increasing. They had to see each other face to face every day, longer than what they wanted to. So even though the child was there and the child was able to see them, there was some disgruntled behavior going on. So it actually poisoned the children further, and it made the children have even more of a worse impression of what it means to be an adult and what it means to be relationships. So now you can imagine the younger generation thinks of boy meet girl type of situation as hell on bipedal legs. Okay, so it makes it even worse. So now they really don't want to come along. They will donkey dunk. They'll say, well, yeah, she has a fat booty. Oh, he's cute. He got a bulge over here or something like that. And I'll spend, I don't know, I'll let them spin it for a little while. But long-term commitment, I'm just going to go get the bag. I'm going to go get money, because I'm not going to sit here and be like my mom or dad. You got it? So the religious aspiration to it. Now this subject is done. There's a gentleman who asked me a question about God, about the existence of God. Got it? And that was a very, very unique thing, as a matter of fact. And I sat down and listened to his conversation, and I asked him, how did he feel about the future? How did he feel about religion today? And he's practically honest, very honest. And it was a very pleasant conversation, as a matter of fact, very pleasant. I never felt so calm because it was reality versus reality. And he had the ability to listen to what I was saying, and he gave me something that I've been teaching you for a long time. And there's a lot of religious people who will not tell you this. There's a lot of even priests, some pastors, you can't depend on the pastor to tell the truth. I'm gonna be honest with you with that. Okay. But some of them who really think they're preaching the truth. Okay. There is contradictions in your religions that they don't want to face, that they know is in their face. And they don't want to admit it. But what they'll think is, like Job, that they're being tested of their faith. They're being tested to see how diligent they are in their religions. Okay. Admirable, because I've been there before. That's what you're taught to do. You're taught to think that way. Whoa, I'm being tested. God's testing my strength. He's testing me. Well, that's what we think. That's cool. Sometimes we think that way. All right. But he broke it down very, very simple. He broke it down very simple. He said, I understand that I can think on my own. I know I should be standing up on my own and learning life as it comes. I should be the man that not only that I want to be, but as you say, Morpheus, write my own books, be the driver of my life. If I haven't been there, I can't say it was true. If I have not witnessed myself all the prayers that are being answered, and if there's no real evidence of Jesus as I want it to be, I think that my problem is, he said this, and this was very amazing that he said it. He said, going that route, the road is too wide. It's too wide of a road. And I know somewhere along the way, I may make a mistake, which of course in psychology, that means uncertainty. He's uncertain about his own decisions. Okay. So it's like the road is too wide. I'd rather be on a path that's narrow. A path that's narrow. It may be congested, but it's narrow enough for me to navigate. That's what he said. And I'm thinking, okay, I get what you mean. So basically thinking on your own, going out to get your own knowledge and standing on your own 2 feet, you feel like it's too wide and too much of a snare. So you rather be in a position where somebody else is guiding you along the way, like a horse on blinders. They put the blinders on the horse's eyes so the horse can maintain focus forward, which is generally the indoctrination of your religions. That's basically what they tell you. In other words, that's what they're telling you, to put your blinders on and just look forward, focus on God. God is the only way, or there's no other way to God but through Jesus. That sort of thing is saying, focus on this. All right. And we start talking about the reality of God existing or not. And then I came back with them with something very simple that I want to share with you as well, because I pretty much share my lessons with you. I share a lot with you, what goes on out here in the world, from a real guy who's not programmed by CNN, not a newscaster. The government's not programming me to talk like this. I don't have a group behind me that's saying, we need to program the society in a certain way and I'm going to pay you, Morpheus. No. No, I care about you and I care about children. Okay. And you need to know these things. I simply said this. The expectation of what you perceive to be God, that all determines your level of expectation. It depends on what you want out of this world. When you pray for something, and if you get it, whether it is human or non-human, if you claim that that's God, very well. Okay, that's what you think God is. That's your interpretation. That's for you personally and between you and God alone. All right. So that's your level of identity of what you're going to apply to God. But then there are other people around the country. There are plenty of people around the country who've prayed for years and didn't receive anything. They have watched people die in front of them. They've seen the reality of life, and they've seen the so-called prayers and miracles not come to pass. They've seen all the false stories of God being the past, present, and the future, as they claim in your religions, or the now and forever, and this golden word called perfect love. And we've witnessed those perfect loves in the Twin Tower. Yeah, I said it. We've witnessed those perfect loves through the mass suicides and the mass destructions that we've seen around the country, and school shootings. Okay, we've witnessed those perfect loves when airplanes and aircrafts go up in the sky and it comes down, and nobody gets back up to fly again. So we've witnessed that. So there's lots of people who've they will lay anointed hands. They'll pray wherever you're going to go, from here to Chicago, New York City. No matter what they do, they've tried that. Okay. They did the best they could do to be honorable to God and his so-called program, which is man's program. Anthropomorphic ideas made up for man, not God. And it still failed. So what they did is they walked away. They'll say, oh, okay, you're not what you say you are. So I'm gonna walk away. And they live their life, and they're probably still here today, living as normal human beings, just living, okay? Having a good time, paying their bills like anybody else, being abiding, helping citizens, and they're pretty much the great people to get along with. You'd be surprised how many people who don't believe in your religion are making your shoes, your hats, and your coats. You'll be surprised that those people are the ones that have a big smile on their face. Well, you greet them and they have a very warm spirit. You'll never know that they don't believe in your religion. They're not Muslim, they're not Baptist, they're not Presbyterian, they're not Christian, they're not Catholic. They're none of that. But yet they are able to help you put food on your table. They donate to you. They're watching over your children. They wash your car. They work on your car, your very car, to get you to your job, your businesses. These people who don't believe in your religion have worked on your car and didn't jig it up. They didn't cause the car to explode on you, to kill you and your children. They weren't assassins. They didn't do anything against you. They just simply lived. And that's something else I told him as well. And broke it down with them that way. And like, okay, so how can you discern the differences between what you're thinking and them? The fact is, the only difference is the way that you think in your perception. So the point of it is, and here's, I'm going to give you this key, and I'm going to end this audio. And here's the key I'm going to give you on multiple occasions. For those who don't understand what Morpheus is saying, and you think I'm the devil. All right. If you think I'm evil, let me help you out with something that pretty much should just give you something to think about for a while. Just take your time, go for a walk, and think about it. Okay? The idea of the belief of God or Jesus or whatever religion that you're in. You raise the bar. Raise the bar up as high as they tell you to raise it. Okay? You got me? Raise the bar up. If they say that God can do or Allah can do, raise it there, and then you test it and you try it. Okay? You test it and you try it, and you go through your research, go through history, and go by what they told you that God can do. Okay? Or that they were supposed to do, and that they were going to do again. You raise it that high. And what you do is from there is, should anything be off, and I can pretty much guarantee you that it is, because I would not be saying this if it wasn't, okay? For my experience and what I know is it's off. I did my testing. I raised my bar. I did these things myself. Is you simply agree to disagree. What that means is you simply say you're not who you say you was. It's not true based on the activity of logic. Now, let me give you a Shangri-La with this. And this really might feel like a gut punch to you or pretty much everybody else. But it's really true. I mean, even maybe someone who's not indoctrinated, they're not in your church, and they are a DR, they're a psychologist, they probably might tell you the same thing if you're not sensitive. A lot of things is based on knowledge and your wisdom and intellectual abilities. And I told you intellectual abilities is the ability to filter out the information and transform it into knowledge. You got it? So the intellectual people who eventually transforms to atheists, or they transform to, well, whatever belief that they may have gained from there, or just belief in their self, which is fine. It's a simple person. They've gotten smart over the years where they raised the bar and they tried it. They looked at it and they said, no, this ain't true. No, this is BS. No, this is indoctrination. This is a system of control. Y'all trying to fart on my face and tell me that the wind is blowing. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're farting on your face and tell you the wind is blowing. And you know it stink. You know it stinks. You can put a match to it and you're going to get a miniature flame. But yet you're sitting there like, well, it's just the wind blowing. Okay. They're pissing on your face, literally. And you're saying, well, it's just rain. It's just the time of the month. It's just the season. And because God's testing me, Allah's testing me, testing my faith, testing to see how diligent I am. So you begin to actually believe that. And because you don't filter it with proper intelligence, I told you this is very vital. And I'm going to tell you this. It's very vital to go back to those audios that I made for you, because you need to understand what intelligence really is, or your intellect, how it works. Your intellect is modified when you are a child. It starts there. What your intellect is, it's almost like a computer where you are modifiable. You're adding on protocols and ideas and functions and programs, and you're to work like this works like that, it's supposed to work like that. Intellectual propriety or perception and dignity also is, it is dredged and modified through school and college. So what happens in this intellectual proposal to yourself, okay, is you begin to think that your intellect is probably everything based on the outside world, based on how people tell you things operate and function. And therefore, you end up applying that same intellect to your physical world. This is how sometimes fresh out of college people are the most dumbest people on the face of the planet. This is how they got more degrees than common sense. This is how you walk around, you see somebody who think they know everything because they have all the credentials in the world, and you can't get along with them. They want to unnecessarily cross every T and every I based on their professor or based on what they've been taught, not based on common sense. So they end up being a disastrous menace to your society or what you're trying to do, because they overstimulated and they think that they're too smart. All right. And as a matter of fact, some of those people, they say a lot of things, but they're not really saying something. They're not saying anything. You know, they talk a lot of jazz and do nothing. They're the most stupidest people you can face sometimes. Not all of them. You've come across them themselves. Walk around, Poindexter tie on and big thick glasses and tight pants on. Oh, I know everything. And they talk all proper. Oh, what are you talking about? This is supposed to be done over there. You can imagine their whole house. You wouldn't even want to walk into their house because everything is restrictful. Okay, because they overdo it because of the programming, just like a computer. You can do that to a computer and the computer's going to go by the protocol. But when you apply your intellect with instincts, what it is, instincts is not book taught knowledge. Okay, it's from nature. It's from your inheritance of your mom and dad and your ancestors. And it's also opening up by eating healthy foods, because all the information is already within you, but you can tap into it through awakening yourself, awakening your third eye. Okay. So what happens is your instincts destroy your intellect and perfects it. It controls your intellectual mind. It tells your intellectual mind yes or no. That's it. It just says yes or no. It's not going to argue with you. It's not going to break it down in the schematic that your intellect wants it to. It's not going to explain how it works on Blueprint. It's going to say yes or no. That's it. And if you listen to your instincts, you'll succeed. When you don't, you're going to find yourself in a ditch somewhere. Okay. It's just that severe. But because we ignore our instincts, we just go by our programmed intellect. So we apply that to our relationship. We apply that to religion. And because the intellect is programmed by the outside structural system where people are just telling you what a thing is and you believe it without questioning it or without breaking it down through instincts, you begin to think that it's real. And it starts as a child. So most people who are in that realm are those who are comfortable being told what to do, what to eat, where to go, what you are supposed to do. You dress this way. You're supposed to look this way. You do this, you do that. So they're used to it. So their instinct, they don't have any instincts. Their intellectual programming overrides common sense. Did you hear me? Your intellectual programming overrides common sense that your instincts have the ability to dig into. But when you do control your intellectual potential, the advantage is you're not going by the programming. You are destroying the programming, and you're able to look past how you was being programmed as a child. You look past the deception. You will start waking it up. In this form, in this way of life, you end up becoming Neo. You end up spitting up. You end up saying, oh my God, I can't believe they said this. What? You will start seeing things that other people haven't saw. You become a teacher. You become a leader in your own right. You'll begin to enlighten other people about things they never thought of before. That's how you become a creator. That's how you become a developer. This is how you become a genius or a person with with an ability to think outside of the box. It's almost like that person on Transformers. Remember Transformers? I think it was 2 or something like that. And the inventor that was in the garage, nobody else made that stuff but him. He was making things by his own ability to think outside of his program. You got it? Or you're an Einstein. You're Einstein. You are a person who, if we give you some tools and items and throw you into a laboratory, you can create something. That's how you are building up your instincts. You're building up your ability to control your own intellectual programming by reprogramming your intellectual mind and realize people are lying to you. So when somebody else comes to you and say, no, it's supposed to work like this. You're only supposed to use this toaster to toast. Okay, but you'll be like, no, that's not just for that. You can actually do this. You can actually spin it over here and look at this button down here. Did you know if you flip this button, this thing can happen? Then everybody's like, wow, I didn't know that. Oh my God, you made an earring out of that thing. You made a doorknob out of it. You made a car key fob out of this trash product. I thought it was no good. So here's your facts. So therefore, there are a lot of people who are religious. Most times that's just their problem there. It starts with their intellectual acceptance of reality. So they don't filter out what they've been taught through thinking about it and using their instincts, because instincts is gone and they're not thinking about it. They're using the mind that's been given to them as a child and never question them. And how do children act? Come on, America. Come on, Neo. How do children act over time? What do children need oftentimes? Someone to what? Someone to guide them. That's right. Someone to guide them. That's what children do. Children are always so pliable that way. You got it? So when you're sitting there and you always in a congregation, somebody got to preach you to the idea. You got it? Somebody has to guide you to the water. You are no different than a child. That's what children do. Children are sitting there like, okay, tell me what to do, mommy, daddy. I don't know how to tie my own shoe. You got it? But when you do awaken and you're able to test, you bring the bar up and you see that something's wrong, realize that something's wrong. There's so many contradictions in our religions. There's so much blasphemy. There's so much stupid behavioral words that we know will not ever hold water in the current world, right? But yet we go along with it because we feel like, and we're programmed. I said feel like because that's what y'all do. You feel like, you don't think. You feel like that you're being tested by your God. That God's trying to see how diligent you are, as if God is a human like you. As if God don't know how diligent you are. If you saying that God created you, God created your scrawny behind. Do you know? You understand? God created you. So why would it need to test you? That's the most dumbest thing I've ever heard of on this side of the universe. And every time I hear somebody say that, I want to tell them to their face just how stupid they sound, but I know how offensive it will be to somebody who think they're smart. What the hell you think you're being tested for by somebody who knows how you operate? Are you that dumb? God isn't like a developer in a shop or a laboratory where it has to test how potent you are, because this creature is supposed to be better and smarter than you. So it knows what you're capable of. It knows what you're made out of and what you're going to do. So therefore, it's not a test. It is reality. It is exactly what it is. It is plain evil, or it's a situation that's not trying to overtake you. It's just nature. It's just science that you don't study, that you don't understand because you're too busy living in a Disney lifestyle. Do you get it? So therefore, that individual isn't using proper intellect. They're using their program intellectual mind that the churches, that the indoctrination, that their schools have given them. So they are a menace to themselves. This is how sometimes when you see some of them, their beady eyes look all big. They look like zombies on two wheels. They look zombie-act. Okay, and when you talk to them, they're always spaced out. They're always, God, this, yo, you know, I'm just, yeah, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be just fine. While they're in the middle of hell. This guy, and I'm gonna tell you something about this guy's status, and it's kind of funny. There's a thing called providence. And providence is something based on what, not only what you want out of life, but what your religion is providing for you. Providence. This guy don't have an automobile. He has to catch the bus every now and then. Okay, he's struggling. He's really not where you think he is in life. Okay, just really not there. And so it goes back to when I said God is for poor people, where in your mindset, you're happy with the lowest hanging fruit. You're happy in your situation because you don't want to face the reality of it. And this is a grown man. This guy is he's about 50 some years old. 51, 50. He's about 50. No, he's not that old. I think he said he's about 48, 49 years old. But he don't look too bad. And it's not like he's on a walker or nothing like that. He can walk. 48, 49 years old, catching the bus back and forth to get somewhere. And as a child, when I was a 16-year-old, I knew not having a car as a man was the most craziest situation to be in. I couldn't consider myself to be a man without a car, or at least a bicycle, at least a scooter. I could never, there was so many times where I went places with my bicycle. I do my side jobs with the bicycle. And if I didn't have a bicycle, I'd go find a scooter somewhere. But to catch a bus and that's it and say, oh, life is good. God's providing for me. Shows you how bad the cognitive dissonance is. And then, of course, when you go to some of the churches, church areas, or in certain religious groups, you'll see some people find cars, find trucks, and a nice house. Okay? That's the other opposite end of the spectrum of those who are probably older or elder, and they've got their money off of physical labor and working. but yet they still holding on to this so-called belief system that they've been provided to do so by a mystery Casper the Friendly Ghost. But they don't want to accept the fact that they did it with their bare hands. They don't accept the fact that they got up in the morning to actually go to their 9 to 5 or to get their businesses where they want it to be. So most of it is based on hope. It's based on just holding on to something that pretty much don't exist. But you are the only one to figure that out for yourself. That's the point. The point is, if you're upset at Morpheus, I'm actually telling you something for you, not for me. Think about this for yourself. It's up to you to determine with the activities of your life to test this thing and see it at your raise, like when you're playing poker or something like that. You raise the bar, raise the status, raise the expectation, and you test it from there. And depending on where that bar is, that means that's what you want out of life. That's your expectation. And if should you be satisfied with it, that's nobody's business but your own. Okay, you're satisfied with God doing whatever your religion have done for you that far. Okay, go ahead. That's up to you. Okay. But again, if it's not provided for and it's not the way that you need it to be. Now, what the pastor would tell you this as well. And then I'm going to get off this audio because it's getting too long now. The pastor would say, well, God's not going to give you everything. Or, there's some things that you just cannot have. Everything's not going to be just hand given to you. All these type of lame excuses. And, God's not given to you for a reason. God is not expecting a person. God's this, God that, speaking for God, for you, when common sense is in front of you. Everything but to tell you that your prayers aren't going to be answered. Everything but to tell you the truth. Everything but to be honest with you and tell you that it's just a story to keep you in hope and peace. While you are the ones who's physically moving around. And they say, well, God gave me the breath to get up in the morning. Yeah, don't talk that dumb stuff to Morpheus, because remember, there's a lot of people who lost their breath. There's a lot of people who didn't wake up in the morning and they was a Christian or they wasn't. You understand? There were babies who did not wake up in the morning and they had nothing to do with their religion. So don't start talking stupid now. They have nothing to do with, oh, God gave grace because we have another day. Okay, what about those people who fly and they hit the ground almost 1,000 miles per hour or seemingly? Okay, don't start talking stupid. Oh, God, he gave me breath today. I should be thankful. Okay, then why are you the only one that's blessed to have air in your lungs? What about those people that was falling down in the tower, moron? As if they deserve to be in that situation that they were in. Then you say, well, everything happens for a reason. It was on God's time. But wait a minute. Wait. Slow your uneducated down. Bleep that out. His time? Do you even listen to what you are saying? Listen to what you're saying. His time. Then what the hell is it that you have free will then if it's all going to be his time? Why don't you just sit there and let God do everything and live your life for you? If that's the case, moron. It's not his or its time. It's your work time. Whatever you do with your time. Anything but to face the reality that it's not real. Okay? And that you have to use your time properly and as carefully as possible. Do you get that? Because there's many of innocent people, kind people, very effective people that we actually need here today with us to change the stupidity of America. Okay? And you'll say, well, God decided for them to leave. Well, you got a very evil, nasty, torrential God. If that's the case, that means God didn't want the success of America or the world by eliminating good people that we actually need today. Shut your mouth. The fact is, we're not dealing with Casper the Friendly Ghost. You're only dealing with human in a human world. It's mankind's world pretending to be God. Do you understand? And you choose to believe it because you don't want to filter it through your intellectual avenue because you're too busy looking at it through your intellectual programming. And you haven't grew up yet because you're still waiting for Sky Daddy and Mommy to help you along the way because you can't help yourself to think straight. Most times it's exactly what it is and we don't want to face it because reality is hard to handle. That's another audio I made for you. It's called Reality is Hard to Handle. You got another reference there. All right. So it's not up to me. I'm not judging you. I'm telling you exactly what it is. I'm saying you raise the bar. Either it is or it isn't. There's a guarantee there's more contradictions than hair on your head, white or otherwise. And if you bald, well, you're out of luck. Okay. Use your chin hairs, your mustache. Okay. But you have to smart people face the reality and walk away. Dumb people, okay, they'll say, well, it don't make sense, but I'm going to believe it anyway. I don't care about knowing about it. I'm just going to believe it. Okay. And you're the type of people who I don't socialize with. Okay. Never in my circle. And here I am driving along, being successful, taking care of my business, and you on a bus stop looking stupid and still saying, well, God loves me. No, you don't love yourself. And you are accepting the lowest hanging fruit of lifestyle because you are taught to be modest. The wages, money is the root of all evil. No, not having money, moron, is the root of all evil. And not using money properly to provide a justifiable means and a successful heaven here on earth is the root of all evil. Heaven is the condition of your life. Hell is also a condition of your life. And when you neglect your life, you're going to have hell. When you accept your life and you do what you can to live and appreciate the air, the nature, and the flesh that the universe have gave you, then you might have a good, decent life. So you'll end up experiencing a heaven-like life on earth. But because we want to be dumb, everybody's suffering for it. Okay? The whole idea of the Academy of Ramen is to unprogram your mind and reprogram it with your own design. That's the whole idea. When you are first born, when you are brought into the world, you are brought into somebody else's programming. You are brought into your mother and your father's programming. You're pre-programmed by them, not yourself. And then some people just stick with that because it's too easy for them. They're too lazy. They don't want to try to develop themselves and transcend to a better, superior human being. So they become the lackluster, common, low frequency human that you see every day, that you really want to ram off the road. But I'm not suggesting it, but you really want to. Okay. But when you are advancing, the red pill that I give you here is to disconnect your programming and to reprogram your mind with your decisions, with your signature, with what you know it to be, so you can perform quite better, because your programming that's given to us today is limited. It's deceptive. It's to bring you down and to destroy you. The programming that you can apply for yourself, should you love life or yourself like you're supposed to, and children in the future, it's going to give you a greater performance, and you can see things exactly what it is. Then you'll disconnect yourself from the matrix and fly. And should you apply all that to your relationship, you can't help but stay together. You can't help but be a real Adam and Eve dumb, not a dumb Adam and dumb Eve dumb. Okay? You can't help but combine yourself with each other and stick with each other because you have long vision. In what I teach, long vision, not short vision. Short vision is when you say, well, the rapture is going to take place at any time, so I don't care about my life right here. God's going to come anytime. That we're living in times of revelation. We're living in the end days, so why should I care about going to college? Why should I care about being smart? Why should I care about making a hobby? Why should I care about building a business? Why should I care about helping the human race? Why should I care about the children? We're not going to be here anyway. Like the dummy. Do. We ain't going to be here anyway. Out of your mind. Out of your mind. When your grandparents, your ancestors thought the same way, and here we are today. They thought the same way, and all of them ended up in a hearse eventually. 60, 70, and 80 years old. So shut this dumb stuff down. Start using your brain for a minute or two. At least 2 minutes. If you can. You still have to prepare yourself for the future. You still have to carve. You still have to go out there and till the grass. You still got to sow the seeds for tomorrow, because children are going to see that day. You may not see it for being a moron, apparently, but they will. So we need to do all that we can to provide a future for them. If you don't like it, well, maybe you need to trade places with those who've fallen down the Twin Towers then and see how you like that. Because it's not all about you. It's about the future. Therefore, we have long vision. So you have to understand the programming that you're listening to in your gossip circles. Not gospel. Gossip circle is so you can limit your life. And if you limit your life, you're going to limit your child's life and their potential. I know I'll make myself clear. This classroom session is over. This is Leon C., your Morpheus Empowerment Red Pill provider. Like it, share it. And if you're new, subscribe to this Academy of Wowmen and learn something.